So, you've landed the lead in the latest superhero blockbuster. Great news, right? Well, hold your horses, because you've got a whole lot of rules to learn before you squeeze into that spandex. Superhero movies are almost never one-and-done affairs. As long as the movie makes a profit, you can bet it will be getting as many sequels as the studio can manage.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
Since the lead actors of these movies quickly become the face of the franchise, they're required to sign multi-film contracts that tie them to their characters for years at a time. A fear of being trapped like this made Chris Evans think long and hard before accepting the role of Steve Rogers in the MCU. The actor explained his thought process in an interview with We Got This Covered, saying, "I was nervous about the lifestyle change, about the commitment. You know, it's 6 movies that can last 10 years. I like to have the option to walk away if I want. With a 6-picture deal, you can't walk away."
Avengers! Assemble.
Similarly, Joaquin Phoenix is said to have turned down the lead role in Doctor Strange because he was unwilling to commit to appearing in multiple MCU films. Ultimately, Phoenix did jump on the comic book movie bandwagon with 2019's Joker and its sequel, Joker Folie à Deux, but only after he and Todd Phillips agreed that they wouldn't put out an endless list of unnecessary sequels. Considering the way Folie à Deux ends, it's fair to say that Phoenix got his wish. When a franchise is built around storylines and plot points that will pay off years down the line, it becomes critically important to keep a tight lid on spoilers. This is something that many actors seem to struggle with. For example, Mark Ruffalo quickly gained a reputation as a serial offender when it comes to spoiling MCU movies. From letting slip the many character deaths in Avengers Infinity War to accidentally live streaming the first 10 minutes of Thor Ragnarok, the actor seems to be a perpetual flight risk for the higher-ups of Marvel Studios. Similarly, Tom Holland is famous for getting overexcited about MCU plot points, while many older actors, such as Bill Murray and Denzel Washington, seem to just not care about spoilers in the first place.
Ryan Coogler is writing a part for me in the next Black Panther.
While it might seem that leaking spoilers is problematic, though, there are times when it can be a blessing for a studio. After Ruffalo live-streamed Thor Ragnarok, he was surprised to find his gaffe had actually had a positive outcome. He told Entertainment Weekly, "When I came to work on Monday, everyone ran up to me. I thought they were coming to scream at me. Barry Curtis, Marvel Studios head of security, he threw his arms around me. That was genius. We got more press than we could have possibly paid for." Until recently, superhero movies provided a reasonably safe bet for a studio's money. With high-intensity spectacle, a built-in fan base, and ridiculously good-looking leads, well-made superhero movies were as close to a sure thing as you could get in Hollywood.
I am Iron Man.
But there are other issues a studio can run into while making such movies, especially if they think members of the creative team might attract bad publicity. This concern was the reason Disney was so quick to fire filmmaker James Gunn from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies after some objectionable tweets from his past were unearthed. It's also why the studio was just as quick to rehire Gunn following public backlash against his firing. In short, image is everything, and creatives need to maintain that image to survive in the superhero game. Attempting to head off such issues before things get out of hand, studios these days conduct extensive background checks on actors and other professionals before hiring them to work on a superhero movie. For instance, actor Tom Von Lawler, who portrayed Ebony Maw in Infinity War and Endgame, revealed on Ireland's RTE Radio 1. They do background checks to make sure you're not a white supremacist and they're not hiring someone with weird baggage. Superheroes are aspirational by their very nature, and the actors who portray them have to measure up on the big screen. While actors still get help in the looks department with CGI and specially molded costumes, they're often encouraged to show off their workout routines to fans on social media. Some actors, like Chris Hemsworth, have made their devotion to staying in shape a major part of their brand. Others have kept information about their exercise routines on the down low, but even they need to be in fighting shape when performing in tight-fitting costumes in front of the camera. The stars of these movies also have to endure endless questions about their diets and the things they do or don't eat to look the way they do. Understandably, this can really get on their nerves. Just ask Scarlett Johansson.
How come you get the really interesting existential question and I get the rabbit food question?
Superheroes have been rocking colorful costumes for as long as they've been around, and so an actor needs to be prepared to put on the spandex if they want to play the part. Hugh Jackman might have somehow managed to get through all those X-Men movies without having to put on the yellow Wolverine suit from the comics, but even he got in the end.
You save the good stuff for special occasions?
Killing mostly.
Meanwhile, Christian Bale is clearly still haunted by memories of wearing the Batman suit for the Dark Knight trilogy. So much so that the only piece of advice Bale gave Ben Affleck about playing the Caped Crusader was to make sure the Batsuit has a zipper. And apparently Bale had the exact same advice to Robert Pattinson as he geared up to star in The Batman. Meanwhile, women superheroes suffered discomfort of a different kind. Margot Robbie admitted she was not a fan of the ultra-tiny hot pants she had to wear as Harley Quinn for 2016's Suicide Squad, for example. As she told the New York Times, "I'm eating burgers at lunchtime, and then you go do a scene where you're hosed down and soaking wet in a white t-shirt. It's so clingy and you're self-conscious about it." If there were ever a haven for comic book fans, it would have to be comic conventions. The most famous of these events is San Diego Comic-Con International, but other cons have also grown in popularity around the world and even online. Naturally, comic book movie actors with something to promote are asked to attend such conventions every year. The actors could be there for a few hours or entire days, talking to fans, taking part in Q&A sessions, or signing autographs and other memorabilia. In recent years, the oversaturation of movie studios marketing their wares at cons has come in for a great deal of criticism, but that hasn't stopped Hollywood from using it to promote new projects. The actors themselves are the centerpieces of studios' marketing efforts at comic conventions, and it can be equal parts thrilling and terrifying for them. Recounting a Comic-Con appearance alongside Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh told LUK, "We both stood there and I instantly had clammy, sweaty hands. Scarlett gave me her hand and we squeezed each other, and she also had clammy hands. And then I was like, oh, this never gets old. This is just as powerful for you and you're their legend." When you've got hundreds of millions of dollars banking on the success of a superhero movie, there's little room for error. As such, studios frequently screen parts of their movies to test audiences to figure out the most crowd-pleasing way forward for the story. They subsequently conduct extensive reshoots where required. The actors are naturally expected to be on hand for such reshoots, which are usually written into their contracts. Scheduling them isn't always simple, though. Even though Henry Cavill had finished the shoot for Justice League and begun growing a mustache for his next role in Mission Impossible Fallout, he was still required to return for extensive reshoots, which led to this.
You won't let me live. You won't let me die.
Sometimes, such studio-mandated reshoots can take a toll on actors. Idris Elba wrapped shooting for the biopic Mandela: Long Walk to Freedom when he was called in to reshoot scenes for Thor: The Dark World. The actor couldn't help but grow frustrated. He told The Telegraph, "They had to put me in harness in this green screen studio, and in between takes, I was stuck there. Fake hair stuck onto my head with glue, this helmet while they reset. And I'm thinking, 24 hours ago, I was Mandela." It ripped my heart out. While some actors and filmmakers see certain superhero movies as passion projects, the studios generally view them as money-printing business ventures. And the money made by these movies comes not only from the box office, but also the sale of merchandise. Prioritizing merch was one of the reasons why Warner Brothers fired Tim Burton after Batman Returns. They then brought in Joel Schumacher to make Batman films that could better sell toys and Happy Meals.
7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
Since that time, the focus on movie merchandising has only increased. Today's comic book cinematic universes go hand in hand with action figures, posters, and other swag that has the faces of the actors plastered on it. But not every actor would be comfortable having their image used in this way, especially since it can strengthen the public's association between the actor and their character, which might potentially lead to typecasting. Sadly, for contractual reasons, there's usually not much the actors can do in such situations beyond hoping to get a cut of the profits. There's no point in making a staggeringly expensive movie if nobody's going to turn up to see it. To that end, studios organize massive publicity campaigns for their superhero movies that often begin a full year before release. Naturally, the cast members lead these campaigns, and the bigger the movie, the more time the actors are contractually obligated to spend promoting it. Since superhero movies frequently make most of their money outside the US, the stars have to brace themselves for extended visits to multiple countries on a tight schedule in which they talk talk to reporters, play games on entertainment shows, and generally try their best to drum up interest in their movie. Such publicity tours can be exhausting affairs. They can be even more difficult to handle when you don't believe in the movie itself, or if you struggled behind the scenes but are still obligated to sing the film's praises. This is what happened with actor Ray Fisher when he was promoting 2017's Justice League, despite being deeply unhappy with the way the movie turned out. Here's a rule of thumb in the world of filmmaking. The bigger a movie's budget, the more the studio will interfere with the creative process. Precious few filmmakers get free rein on blockbuster films, and the MCU in particular has been criticized for hiring directors who are less experienced and easier to control. Many other directors have complained about the excessive studio oversight they had to deal with while making superhero movies. Josh Trank has spoken openly about his issues with the studio while making 2015's Fantastic Four.
It's fantastic.
Say that again?
Meanwhile, Edgar Wright stepped away from Ant-Man due to Marvel's oversight. He later told Variety, "I wanted to make a Marvel movie, but I don't think they really wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie." The actors don't exactly get an easy ride either. They have to accept that their performances must meet studio expectations above all else. If they refuse to play ball, they can find themselves quickly replaced, as happened to Edward Norton after The Incredible Hulk. Aside from making the films, doing reshoots, and taking part in press tours, superhero actors also have to often budget their time for contractually mandated cameos in other movies. Sometimes, these cameos can be quite extensive, such as Spider-Man's supporting role in Captain America: Civil War.
Hey everyone.
Other times, the appearance can be nothing but a minor gag, like Captain America's appearance in Spider-Man: Homecoming. In general, these cameos are an important way to reinforce the shared universe nature of the stories, in which all the major characters exist side by side. These cameos can also be cause for gossip and behind-the-scenes chatter, especially when they don't work out. The Superman cameo intended for Henry Cavill in Shazam fell apart at the last minute, leading to much speculation regarding Cavill's place in the future of the DCEU. Cavill later appeared in the post-credits scene of the much-maligned DC movie Black Adam, stirring just as much speculation, and a fair bit of online mockery too. But hey, that guy's gotta work.